Smart Investing Solutions of Mr. Bond. Let me speak to you about Smart Investing Strategy Calculator in this video, which is an alternate to lump sum investments and not alternate to dynamic equity fund as an asset class. This is a 2-in-1 calculator for lump sum investments and investments through SIP mode. I will speak about exit strategy from SIP in a different video. What is smart investing strategy and when and who should adopt this strategy? Please remember that smart investing strategy is alternate to lump sum investments and how to make that journey smoother and less volatile, and not alternate to DAF kind of strategies, which is dynamic asset allocation funds, either dynamic schemes or balance advantage funds. I will use DAF as a terminology for identifying dynamic asset allocation funds as well as balance advantage funds. Let us revisit Mr. Bond's equity bands. From 0 to 1153 algo number, treat these as green zone, that is when the algo suggests 80% in equity or higher allocation. This is cheap valuation zone. From 1154 to 1614, treat this as the yellow zone, a reasonable valuation zone. And from algo number 1615 and above, that is when it suggests 30% or lower in equity allocation, treat this as the most expensive zone, the red zone. These bands and algo numbers are created by taking into account trailing Nifty PE and PB, price to earning and price to book ratios. Investments, we must understand, is all about investing at right valuations, reach cheap valuations and at reasonable valuations, and disinvesting at expensive valuations and getting into less aggressive or conservative asset classes in the red zone. This smart investment strategy will move between two asset classes, namely DAF and pure equity schemes, at two binary triggers at expensive valuations. When Mr. Bond's algo is 1615 or higher, investments in pure equity will move to DAF. It will stay here till the trigger going forward does not read 1154 or lower. When the algo number reads lower than 1154, funds will move from DAF back to pure equity and vice versa. What happens to funds in yellow zone? Funds switched from pure equity to DAF at 1615 or higher algo will continue to stay invested in DAF till the lower trigger of 1154 or lower is not reached. But for fresh investments, the strategy will read the algo number on the date of the investment. Let us assume that at that time, if the algo reads any number less than 1615, fresh investments will be made in pure equity and not DAF. That means for an investor, for his earlier investments, he may be in DAF due to triggers at expensive valuation zone, and his fresh investments can be in pure equity if invested in the yellow zone or below. Once you are logged into the system after becoming a member of A2A platform, you will see a green button called dashboard. Click on that and select the calculator which you wish to use. We are talking about smart investing calculator here, so I have selected smart investing calculator. After selecting the calculator of your choice, it will prompt you to select either SIP or lump sum amount. Let us select lump sum as our option. Fill in the amount, say rupees 10 lakhs. Then it will prompt you to select with capital gains tax or without capital gains tax. As we are aware, now there is 10% long-term capital gains tax and 15% short-term capital gains tax in equity as an asset class. Since there are too many back-end calculations for with capital gains tax option, it may slow down the calculator, and hence I am selecting for this particular video without capital gains tax option. Then it will prompt you to select the equity scheme for which you wish to generate this data. Select the equity scheme of your choice. I am selecting HDFC Equity, it being one of the older schemes. Once you have selected the equity scheme, it will give you two dates below the selected scheme. namely the starting date, this will be the inception date, and ending date, last available NAV of the scheme. Then you will have to select the dynamic equity or balanced advantage fund scheme where funds will move. Ideally, it should be of the same fund house. However, DAF schemes came into existence only since 2010 onwards. I would recommend you to select Movie Nifty Dynamic Equity as your default option, whose backtested data is available since 3/1/2000 onwards. Again, it will give you 2 dates below the selected scheme, namely starting date, this will be the inception date, and the ending date, last available NAV of the scheme. Remember, DAF is only temporary parking vehicle and does not generate alpha in the strategy. Alpha is generated by entering and exiting from pure equity schemes at right valuations. If you have to do analysis over shorter periods where actual data of DAF schemes are available, you may wish to choose respective DAF schemes for your calculation purposes. For example, if you wish to generate data for, say, ICICI Prudential Value Discovery from April 2010 onwards, ICICI Prudential Balanced Advantage Fund was in existence from this date onwards, and instead of choosing default scheme Movie Nifty DE, you may choose actual data of ICICI Prudential Balanced Advantage Fund. Then you have to select algo based on whose triggers funds will move between DAF and pure equity and vice versa. Here you choose as default Mr. Bond's algo. Again, it will give you 2 dates below the selected scheme, namely starting date, this will be the inception of the algo number, and ending date, last available algo number of Mr. Bond. Finally, you choose the dates for which period you wish to generate data. Starting date, say 2nd of January 2001. Change the year. Change the month. And select the date. And the ending date. As you can see, the ending date for Movie Nifty, the last available NAV, is on 30th of October 2018, and that's the reason why for calculations purposes I am selecting the same date. Then press the button Calculate. How do you read the summary? Let us read the lower half of the summary, which gives results for lump sum investments. 10 lakhs invested in HDFC equity as on 2nd of January 2001. The current value under buy and hold is 3.16 crores as on 30th of October 2018. But the same investment through Smart Investment Solution of Mr. Bond, the current value as on 30th of October 2018 is 5.14 crores. Of course, there is a huge difference in valuations over past 18 years, almost 1.97 crores. But another main difference is that under buy and hold with current value of 3.16 crores is in HDFC equity versus investments through Smart Investing Strategy of Mr. Bond. The funds are now lying in DAF scheme in the current market corrections. Portfolio under buy and hold will bleed further with any market corrections from here on, whereas under smart investment, where funds are lying in DAF, this will not only protect downside, as DAF would be not more than 30 to 40% in equity, but it will switch from liquid to equity at better valuations going forward. Finally, you can click on the button Export Full Report below the summary, and this will help you create an Excel sheet of how funds moved between DAF and pure equity, at what triggers and when. I hope you have understood how to use this calculator and when and for which investor should this be used and adopted. If you have any more queries on the usage of the calculator, why it should be used, for who it should be used, and how it should be interpreted, do write to us at sunil@mrbond.in. Thank you so much.